Hey everybody, my name is Alex, and I'm here to talk with you about music. And what in particular, I'm not sure. I figured I like talking about music a lot. I like talking about it with my friends, with my parents, with a lot of different people about different types of music. You know, how you feel from it, what music's good, what music's bad, what music's just really friggin' weird. Um, and I just really enjoy talking about music. So I'm going to try something different. I'm going to try this podcast pod vlog thing, and I'm going to give it a shot. I'm just going to talk about music. Every now and then, I will do this when I can, and there'll be different subjects. I might talk about a band's discography, I might talk about a band in general, I might talk about random crap. But today, for this first episode of this thing, I am going to talk about 9 albums, maybe 10, that changed my life, hopefully for the better. And this is in no particular order. If I do something at the very end of this, it doesn't mean it's the best album or anything. It might be an album that affected me more, but there's really no particular order. I'm going to talk to you about Jethro Tull's Stand Up album. And the reason I put this on my list is because that is one Jethro Tull album I keep coming back to. And I love Aqualung, I love Thick as a Brick, I love everything from their 70s output, but that's for another video. Stand Up is the first Jethro Tull album that I actually really heard. Really. I mean, I knew the Aqualung riff, I didn't know who did it, and my dad never told me who did it, but I heard that song, and I think maybe Locomotive Breath once. But Jethro Tull's Stand Up is an album that my dad gave to me at a point in my life. He said, I want you to learn track 9 from this album. I want you to learn harmonica for it. And that song was Reasons for Waiting. And and what I did as a kid usually was I would emulate guitar solos or organ solos with my harmonica, because I grew up playing harmonica. And sometimes that didn't translate well, and that song was one of them in particular. But I listened to it and I thought, wow, that's a really nice song. The strings at the end of the song, the lyrics were very uplifting and moving and loving. And curiosity killed the cat, and I ended up, listening to the album from track 1 all the way to the end. And from, A New Day Yesterday all the way through 1,000 Mothers, I was hooked on this thing. This was the first real different music that I had ever heard. It was the first time I ever heard, first time in that type of format, like mandolins and flute and there was some rockin' stuff, there was some soft acoustic stuff, and there was some epic sad, not sad, but dramatic, we used to know, look into the sun. A lot of that album still just resonates with me. It's a good summer album for me. Like, if I'm driving down the highway in summer, I will blast that album, just front to back. Beret is a fantastic, chill, fun tune, and as a bassist myself, it's just fun to play. I can't really play it 100% the same, but it's, I still enjoy listening to it very much. Even the one track, Jeffrey Goes to Lancaster Square, I can't speak. Jeffrey Goes to Wherever that place is. Even that's kind of catchy in a weird way, and I don't know why. But the standout songs, that really stand up for me, pun, is, A New Day Yesterday. That's a good hard rock, hard blues song, and as a harmonica player at the time, I enjoyed that very much. Good lyrics. And the last song, for 1,000 Mothers, I thought that was just a really good hard rock tune, and I never thought of, I knew what hard rock was. hard rock metal kind of. And I know it's not metal, obviously, but it was very fast, very forward moving, and I never heard an instrument like the flute being used in that style. Good lyrics too, really good lyrics. Just you can tell that Ian is saying something. It's not really an insult or like an attack like on his parents or anything. I don't think so. It's just a good, like, I got this, I'm becoming a rock star. You guys said I couldn't do it, and here I am. I did it. Yeah. And there's some more upbeat songs on there too, like Nothing Is Easy and Fat Man, and like I said, Look Into the Sun. That's a good fun one. Another really good song on there is Back to the Family. That lick at the very beginning, that lick is just different. Like, I don't know, it stands out really well on the album, and it's one of the good harder rock songs on there. It starts off kind of just like it just, and then it busts into this kind of hard rock thing. So yeah, that album as a whole is just really good to me. That's a really good summer album that if I ever go to the beach again, if I go to the beach, if I drive down the highway, if I'm just going for a walk in the summertime, down the sidewalk, I'm going to be listening to that album. And I plan on doing that again this year and maybe the next year. Next album I'm going to talk to you about is, and this is kind of a jump, Ghost in Festa Sumam. That album, wow. That album stands out as another pivotal changing point for me. And the reason I say that is because, at this point, which I'd say was probably about 2013, 14, whenever the album had just came out when I heard interest about this band. I tried to stay away from it because, the general consensus is, this was a satanic band and they were evil and doom, and, you listen to this, you support Satan and everything. And it's not like I was a devout Christian or anything. I wasn't anything. I'm not agnostic or atheist or anything. I just, for some reason, I thought if I listened to it, it would put a label on me, and of course that's not true. But when curiosity killed me and I looked up a video and it was Secular Haze, and it was not what I expected. It was this weird blend of like the Doors meet Alice Cooper with a hint of like maybe Pink Floyd in there. A lot of 70s, late 60s kind of sounding hard rock, underground hard rock. And it was just really catchy in a really hypnotic way. It caught my ear, and I couldn't stop listening to that one song, so I ran out to my local music store and bought Festa Sumam, and it was a deluxe edition. It had like 3 or 4 bonus tracks on there, including Waiting for the Night with Dave Grohl, and there was one other song I can't remember. ABBA, I'm a Marionette. So I bought the album, and from track 1, the title track in Festa Sumam, into Per Inspira Infani, I think. Forgive me if I'm messing that up. I just thought, wow, this is like Sabbath reincarnated, kinda. Not as, at the time I thought that, with time I realized that's not the case. But at that time I thought, wow, this is a really good riff. This is this is good good riff, good music, good lyrics, you know. And I was still listening to it with like a little bit of an edge, you know, like, oh, I'm not too crazy about the lyrics or anything. But, you know, over time, the more I listened to it, the more I just didn't care. I just had fun with it. And I think that's what one thing people need to do with Ghost is have fun with it. One thing that Ghost taught me is, you know, just if you enjoy the music, just enjoy it and have fun with it. You know, not everyone's gonna love it, and in a weird way, they gave me respect for Kiss, because I really don't like Kiss. You know, there's like maybe a handful of songs I can probably count on my finger. On my finger, there's one song. No, there's a couple songs I like by them, and I respect them as a band, but I respect them more because of Ghost, because, you know, people who liked them back then, they were probably facing the same thing, mostly from adults who thought they were like demons and stuff. But, you know, everyone thought, oh, this is shit, this is just a gimmick or whatever. But, you know, the fan base enjoys it for a reason. You know, it's an escape. There's something about that music that turns them on or something. And Ghost made me realize, you know, you should let people be, you know, if they like a certain band that, you know, the general consensus, you know, either sucks or is a gimmick or whatever, you know, just let them enjoy it, you know. If it really is that bad, you know, they'll fall out of it. I'm still into Ghost. I don't see myself falling out of it unless they, you know, take it to a certain level that I don't like or appreciate. There is one song by Ghost. I don't want this to turn into a Ghost thing, but there's one song on the new thing, on the newer EP called Missionary Man. It's a cover, and I don't like that song. That song is horrible. But back to Infesta Sumum. That I went on a rant for a long time. Infesta Sumum is a fantastic album. Per Espera, that song, Secular Haze, Year Zero, Monstrance Clock, Goulet, Zombie Queen, the two tracks with Dave Grohl, although they were released on a separate EP, those are really good. The album has a good flow. It's very consistent. But I put that on there just because it, you know, made me try different things. I would have never listened to random heavier bands since then if it wasn't for Ghost, because like I stayed away from bands like Behemoth or, you know, like maybe Venom or something, just because I don't know, it seems kind of stupid, you know, seeing them worshiping douchebags or whatever. But, you know, it's fun music. You gotta have fun with it. So, Ghost Infesta Sumum changed my life. The next one on the list is The Doors with Morrison Hotel. And the reason I included this on this list thingy is because that is the first album I bought with money, with my own money. My dad gave me $20 when I was living in Ionia, and he said, here's $20, do whatever the hell you want to do with it. And so what I did was I went out and bought a CD, and it was like I think the 40th anniversary edition or the whatever edition of Morrison Hotel. And it was one long disc packed with outtakes, alternate tracks and everything. And the main reason I put this on this list is because it was the first album I bought. But it's also just a really good hard rock, hard blues album. I have fun every time I listen to it. And I think that's another album, if I had a disc changer, it'd be right next to Stand Up, you know. I just have fun listening to it. Roadhouse Blues, Peace Frog, You Make Me Real, Waiting for the Sun, Maggie McGill, Queen of the Highway, The Spy, Ship of Fools, I think is also a really good tune. Also, the jazz version of Queen of the Highway is really good. I really enjoyed that song. Jim Morrison's lyrics on that album, I think, were reaching their pinnacle. I think that was the last truly great Doors album. LA Woman is good, but if they ended on Morrison Hotel, I think it would have been a better legacy to leave behind. You know, I enjoy Riders on the Storm and LA Woman and The Changeling. You know, that LA Woman is a great album, but I think Morrison Hotel tops it just a little bit. And Robbie Krieger's guitar playing on the Morrison Hotel is really good. You know, everyone plays fantastically on this album. John Densmore, Ray Manzarek, you know, including Jim Morrison, of course. His vocal performance is top notch, and lyrics. Peace Frog is still a fun tune, and lyrically it just is a weird contrast from the rest of everything else. I mean, it fits his mythos, I guess, but like, you know, it's this fun, you know, E major riff or something, and he's just like, blood in the streets in the town of New Haven, you know, a lot of references to blood. I thought that stands out really interestingly. So yeah, Morrison Hotel, it's one album that changed my life. Next album on the list is Tool's Lateralis. Now, my intro to Tool was really random. I was at a family outing, and my dad set up all these amplifiers and stuff for him and I to make music while the family were eating and relaxing. So we were making noise, as usual. But one of my cousins comes up to me, because we had a bass up there too. We didn't have a drum set or anything. It was just like acoustic guitars, my harmonicas, and a bass guitar. And I'm sitting up there, I'm like tuning the bass, and one of my cousins walks up to me and is like, hey, can you play Schism? And I go, what? I don't know what Schism is. He's like, you don't know what Schism is? You don't know who Tool is? And I'm like, I don't know who Tool is. And he takes the bass from me and he goes, and that was the first time I heard that riff, and he played it really well. That was the first time I heard that riff, and I thought, wow, that is pretty out there. I never seen it played like that. And so fast forward a couple weeks, and I'm trying to find the album with that song, and I didn't remember the name of the song, because he said Schism, and then like the next minute I'm like, I forgot the name of that song. So I go to this music shop, and I like, which album is it on? I don't know. All the songs kind of sound the same. I heard Vicarious on like a music sample thing, and I'm like, this sounds like it, kinda, you know, my naive mind. But luckily I made the right guess and got Lateralis, and I did the same thing I did with Jethro Tull. I like the one song, but I'm gonna start from the very beginning of the album. And then The Grudge hit me, and that messed me up. That was the first real prog metal song that I heard that really took me to another level, because I didn't know what the hell he was singing about. The drums and music are on this weird time signatures, and then Maynard's big scream at the end of this album, you know when you're at the end of a wind tunnel, and it's like, I'm just like, whoa, I don't know how to feel about this. This band is playing in top form. That whole album is just fantastic, front to back. I don't know what else to say. The Patient, Schism, the Parabolas, the intro to Parabola or whatever. Disposition. Triad is a good instrumental jam thing. Ticks and Leeches, that was my jam in high school. I walked around with a fucking CD player while everyone had iPods and everything. And by the time I got an iPod, everyone had moved on to, just using their phones and everything. But, I'm still walking around with CDs, listening to Tool and everything. But yeah, Tool's Lateralis. There's not much I can say about it. It's just, I had that experience at that family thing. I heard the bass riff, and that album took me to a whole nother plane. I just jammed that album all the time. And there you go. Tool's Lateralis. Another album that changed my life is Faith No More's Angel Dust. And this album, the story behind this album for me is I'm at home. We had moved like 3 times, and it was not a good time for me as a kid. I'm hating my life, and I'm hating everything around me. My band isn't doing much, and I lived in an area where I couldn't really see my friends too much, so I was by myself a lot. And I'm watching TV, and I think it's Fuse Network or something. It might have been VH1. But they were playing Download. I think it was 2009 or 2010 when Faith No More was on their first reunion tour. And they played Easy, they played Land of Sunshine, and I know there was another song they played, but I don't remember what it was. But Land of Sunshine, I watched that live performance of it, and I'm captivated by this singer, Mike, and I just didn't know how to react to, he's doing these high-pitched, like, seagull things with his voice. I don't know how the hell he does it, but it hooked me, and, it was catchy. The music was very just, like, it sounded very industrial, and I know it's not industrial music, but it was just, it's very, like, it was the tightest playing I had seen, and I was captivated, and so I looked up that song. Okay, it's on this album, so I'm gonna buy that album. And it's the first song, so let's just make this easy. I'm gonna start off from the first song. The studio version is just as good. Goes into Caffeine, and that's even harder. Like, whoa, what is he singing about? And later found out he was doing like sleep deprivation treatments, experiments or something at a college or whatever, and he wrote about those experiences. Caffeine was really ahead of its time, I think, in my opinion. And then fast forward to Midlife Crisis, which is a catchy, fun, song. It's just catchy, good drums and everything, good samples and everything, lyrics. And then the rest of the album, Jizz Lobber, Kindergarten, Small Victory, Smaller and Smaller, RV. The whole album is just littered with it's a solid album front to back. The only song I really don't like is Midnight Cowboy, that instrumental. I can't get into that. I'll listen to Woodpecker from Mars any day, but I will not listen to Midnight Cowboy. I don't know why. That song is just a sore spot. I'm not gonna degrade the whole album because of that one song, but that one song, they should have just cut it. It is boring. I don't like it, but that's my opinion. But yeah, Faith No More's Angel Dust album was just the most out there thing for me at that time, because in that house that I was living in, I listened to nothing but Faith No More and Slipknot, and occasionally Slayer or Metallica or something like that. Yeah, I just had so much fun with that album. I would play video, like, the way I had it set up was on the Xbox 360, music you have, downloaded onto the thing, you can sometimes play while you're playing video games. And I would do that with Angel Dust. I would play a game like Gears of War or Halo or something, and I'd be listening to Angel Dust, and that was just a fun time. I had so much fun with that. And yeah, just fond memories with Angel Dust. Alright, keeping this going. And this one might be a little bit of a cheat. Some of you might call me a cheater because of this selection, but I'm including it because it did change my life. And this one actually really did. I still listen to these songs to this day. Pink Floyd released a compilation album called Echoes, and it is, I think, one of the best compilation albums ever. And I think that album, front to back, was it was otherworldly. It was introducing me to songs I had not heard yet from Pink Floyd, like Arnold Lane and High Hopes. I think Marooned was also mostly Division Bell stuff. And the Fletcher Memorial Home, that was a song I had not heard yet. But that album, that compilation album from Go, really just kept me afloat. It has every that would be my cheat album if I was on a desert island, because I would have the best of all worlds. I would be a little disappointed because the Tom Hart Mother's not on there, and no Ummagumma or random songs that I really liked from the early Floyd. But it has a lot of the good stuff to keep you going, like Astronomy Domini, High Hopes, Comfortably Numb, One of These Days, When the Tigers Broke Free, Shine On, Echoes, Sorrow, Sheep. Every song on this album, on this compilation album, is just I could talk about this for hours. I'm not going to, because it is, I consider it technically a cheat, so I'm not going to dwell on this one. But I also think that the album art, the artwork on this album is just top notch. Like it made it its own concept album, even though it was taking songs from other, some concept albums and, random songs, and it just flowed. I don't know how the hell Floyd could make that happen to where it feels like one consecutive piece of music and it's not connected. I'm sure there is a theme. If you look hard enough, but it's just a good, really good compilation album. Has every important Pink Floyd song. I'm sure if you're a diehard Pink Floyd fan like me, it's like, it doesn't have the Nile song, it doesn't have Biding My Time, or it doesn't have any Ummagumma on it. You gotta take one for the team sometimes. I enjoy Echoes, the best of Pink Floyd. Another album I'm going to talk about is Alice Cooper's Love It to Death. And it's a short album. I didn't realize how short it was, but it's straightforward. There's no fluff to it. There's no bad songs. And I guess the weakest song, I would say the weakest song is also the highlight of the album. Black Juju. It is a very strong song when it's going, but it has a really long intro, which, I like. As much as I love Floyd, sometimes their intros are a little bit obnoxious, or interludes or whatever. But this intro was just, I feel like they could have cut that in half or something. And then the whole middle section, same thing. They could have cut that in half, just to keep the flow a little going. But I think that also plays into the whole hypnotic feel of the song. But every other song on this album is just top notch. Hallowed Be Thy Name, Second Coming, Through Sunrise with Ballad of Dwight Fry, Caught Up in a Dream, Long Way to Go, Is It My Body, and of course 18. You know, the whole album, just, you know, top-notch playing. Production on it is really good. Good lyrics, you know, for the time. You know, I felt like there was an edge to it. You know, if I saw the album growing up at that time, I'd think, wow, this is really out there, dude. This is like, you know, there's no other album like this. And there kind of wasn't, but, you know, there was still Black Sabbath and everything. I thought about putting Billion Dollar Babies on this list, but I felt more of a connection to Love It to Death than any other Alice Cooper song. I also really like the School's Out album, which, if you haven't listened to, that album is really good. Just to segue for a minute, School's Out front to back is also a really good album. Like, everyone knows the title track, and if you're a little bit more of a fan, you'll know My Stars, because they played it on a DVD. Good to see you again, Alice Cooper. But that whole album front to back is also really good. Really good lyrics, and there's a theme to it. I think it's a loose theme, but there's a theme to it regardless. I think, you know, yeah, Alice Cooper's Love It to Death is a good album, and it's one of my favorites. Next up on my list is Black Sabbath with Volume 4. You know, and that one, I knew I wanted to include a Black Sabbath album on this list, and I thought about cheating again and doing another compilation album. But I thought, no, I can pick one album. You know, I can do one thing right on this list. And so I picked Volume 4 because, you know, it's the same story with every other album on this list. You know, front to back, minus FX. You know, just minus FX. Front to back, this album is just great. I think the production is really good. The performances are really good. Wheels of Confusion, Cornucopia, St. Vitus Dance, Under the Sun, Snowblind, Supernaut, Tomorrow's Dream, and of course the ballad of the album, Changes. You know, just, I think Ozzy was in top form vocally. You know, I think this is when the drugs really kicked in for the band, so, you know, they were riding that high, that initial high that, you know, made them really creative and kept them going, like, in a good way. You know, not to promote drugs or anything, but, you know, it's that initial high that, like, oh my god, I can move mountains. And they kind of did with this album. Wheels of Confusion especially is a good album, good starter, good way to start an album. And I think it just ends really well. I had to stop speaking for that. St. Vitus Dance is also a really good, fun, short song. I think it's short. I don't remember. I haven't listened to it in a minute. Under the Sun is also a really good way to end an album. I'll talk a little bit about Snowblind. Snowblind is one of my winter songs. You know, obviously it's singing about cocaine and being high and everything. But, you know, when I lived in St. John's, I used to walk to the bus stop, and the bus stop was actually, for me, was a little bit of ways away. It wasn't horribly away, but it was enough to where, like, I could listen to, you know, maybe 15 minutes of music before getting there. And in the winter, I would listen to a certain list of songs. Like, I made this burned disc of winter songs, and then, you know, Deep Purple with Child in Time, and Snowblind would be on there too. Just, you know, feeling cold, and, you know, you're snowblind, you can't see what your hand in front of your face. I really enjoyed that song a lot. So yeah, Black Sabbath Volume 4 is on my list. To watch people's reactions when I tell them of this is really interesting. Slipknot's All Hope Is Gone. I was again in the same place I was listening to the Faith No More Angel Dust album. You know, I was in the middle of nowhere, no friends and everything, and I was watching Fuse Network again, and they were doing like this like heavy metal half hour or heavy metal minute or whatever, so they play like a couple of the new songs that are out, and it'd be like 3 Days Grace, Breaking Benjamin. I remember those especially, like Alice in Chains. And Sulfur came on, and I was, you know, I saw the name Slipknot and I saw the masks, and I did one of those, oh shit, because I'd never listened to Slipknot up until that point, so but I knew of them. I'd seen posters and album art, and I'm like, oh, nope, that's scary. That's scary, man. I'm not gonna touch that. No. But the song came on, and I'm like, you know what, let me sit through this, and, you know, that was a moment that really, truly, actually did change my life, because up until that point, you know, the Faith No More thing came after this, because I was interested in heavier music. But before that, it was, you know, Jethro Tull, Pink Floyd, you know, Black Sabbath. Maybe I'd dabble in a little bit of Metallica, but I wasn't too into it. You know, I was mostly an Enter Sandman kind of kid. But yeah, I never listened to much metal. So Sulfur comes on, and the chorus is catchy, it's fun, the whole song is really fun. So I, you know, got interested. I thought, okay, well, one song usually gets me going, and then I'll end up liking the album. So I bucked up, and, you know, I had some extra money from my dad. Yeah, I did the same thing. I went to my music store, and I saw the album, and the album was creepy. I mean, it still kind of is, you know, they're just in a field. I mean, when you say it like that, you know, they're just in a field, you know, it's whatever. But, you know, as a kid who listened, like, the heaviest thing he listened to was, you know, Metallica. You know, this is like, oh, I don't know if I want to touch that yet. But I did, and, you know, I bought the album, and same thing as every other album on here. Track 1, it was Execute, and it goes into Geometra, the killing name or whatever. And it was going so fast I couldn't keep up. I'm going, oh my god, what the hell is going on? And then I get the Sulfur. I'm like, okay, I know this song. I can get behind this. And then I think it goes into, I don't remember the track listing entirely off the top of my mind. And I think I listened to Dead Memories, and I thought, okay, this is a fun song. This is kind of a sad, fun song. And then Psychosocial came on, and I didn't realize that at the time that song was like a huge hit. So like I'm like, oh yeah, I'd tell my friends, yeah, I like Psychosocial, and they'll be like, fucking tired of Psychosocial, man. I hear that all the fucking time. But I didn't, you know, that was the first time I heard it. I'm like, wow, I really like this. You know. And, you know, the rest of the album, Butcher's Hook, Wherein Lies Continue, the title track especially. I got the bonus edition too, and that came with a Child of Burning Time and a remix of Bloodstone of Vermilion Part 2, which was really good. I heard that first before I heard the original Vermilions, and yeah, I was in for a treat when I went back to those albums. But I have to talk about Snuff for a second, because I tell fellow musicians this, and they kind of groan at me. They're like, oh, you fucking asshole. But to be serious, I listened to Snuff, and at that point, I thought, wow, this is really beautiful. This is really nice. This is really sad. I feel this. You know, I at the time, you know, being an angsty teenager, I'm like, I feel this. He gets me, man. He gets me. Corey Taylor gets me, man. It gave me faith in music again in a weird way. And, you know, listening to it now, I thought, man, I was just a fucking teenager. You know, it's still a good song. By all means, it's still a great song. But, you know, is it up there with Stairway to Heaven? No. I don't think it's anywhere up in that level. I think Vermilion's, the Vermilion stuff is far better than that stuff. But at that time, that was the first, that was the first song that gave me faith in modern music. I said, okay, if there's this out, there's more good stuff out there. I just have to look for it. And from that moment on, I actively started looking for it, and I found heavier music that I liked. Well, not heavier, but just heavy metal. I started looking into heavy metal. I got into Tool, Faith No More. More Slipknot. I started listening to Behemoth, like I said earlier. Black Sabbath. Just heavier stuff. Metallica, Megadeth, Anthrax, especially. I know there's more. I can't think of it off the top of my head. But yeah, that album and that song changed my life because it just gave me like, hey, you just have to look for it, you're not going to like everything you find, but you're going to find some gems that you really like. Like before that, I would have never listened to like Queens of the Stone Age or, like maybe Primus or anything, but I gave it a shot. Machine Head, Mushroom Head. I'm kind of glad I don't listen to Mushroom Head anymore, to be honest. That was a weird. Slipknot's fine. But I feel just to veer off topic again for a while. I feel how everyone feels about like Korn and Linkin Park. It's like, hey man, I listened to that stuff in high school. I don't listen to that anymore. I don't really fall into that line, except for Mushroom Head, because I listened to Mushroom Head a lot in high school, a lot, and like the moment I graduated, I'm like, I'm gonna listen to some other stuff. And there's an occasional Mushroom Head song like Solitaire Unraveling. That's still an okay song. Was it Simple Survival? The shadow within me. Simple Survival. Yeah, that's. I'm pretty sure that's the name of the song. The album that song comes on. That's an okay album. They're that band for me. I can't really get into that anymore. Back on topic to end this list. I'm gonna say, yeah. Slipknot with All Hope Is Gone changed my life. And I also really liked the title track. That surprised my friends because they thought, okay, he must just like the hits. And I go, no, I really like this song. It starts off with these really ridiculously fast drums. Joey Jordison is still a great drummer. It was just really fast. People thought I was kind of crazy for liking that song of all songs. And we thought you'd be more of a psychosocial guy, which I was. But, the title track was still really good. And to sum up this list, these are 9 albums that did change my life, and I still go back to these albums a lot in everyday life. Like, I listen to Jethro Tull constantly, Ghost, Pink Floyd, especially lately, I haven't listened to much Slipknot lately. That was one of those high school bands for me, kinda. I still enjoy Slipknot. I thought The Great Chapter was okay. But, I still love Tool. Alice Cooper. I saw Alice Cooper a couple years ago, and he put on a great show. I saw Ian Anderson last year, and that was a really fun time. His voice is a little shot. Like, I'll be perfectly honest. It's not as good as it used to be, but I respect him too much as a writer and as a, performer. And with as much money as I dipped into his career, I'm just going to respect him as a musician. He's doing whatever the hell he wants to do. And I'm going to be seeing him again later this year. I've seen Ghost twice. And they put on a great show. Just if you just let go and have fun with it, it's a great show. There's no preaching of this whole satanic vibe. It's literally just a fun rock show. They allude to the whole double thing, in between songs. It's like the evil within, This song is called Mummy Dust, bleh, something like that. I saw Roger Waters last year, and that was life-changing, from Pink Floyd. That was life-changing. I never thought I would see a Pink Floyd member live, because ticket prices are always just ridiculously high. But thank you, Dad. Yeah. Oh, and I saw Black Sabbath. A couple years ago. I almost forgot about that. Same thing with Ozzy. His voice is not as good as it used to be. It was towards the end of the 90s was when he started kind of, just not being as good as he used to be. And that's age. I'm not going to fault him too much because he's still doing what he loves to do, So I'm not going to fault him. I had fun. I got to see Geezer Butler and Tony Iommi, And I got to hear my favorite Black Sabbath song, Dirty Women, live. So I'm set with that. But to sum up this whole thing, because I'm rambling now, these are just 9 albums that changed my life. If you have a list of your own, you can put them down in the comments below. I might look at them. I might not. I don't know how this whole podcast blog thing is going to go. I'm kind of just experimenting now. This is very loose. And, if I have fun with it, I'm going to keep doing it. If it seems like too much work, then I might stop it. But, I enjoyed talking about music. It might be a little easier if I get, if I think of more ideas and if I actually come up with a script instead of just riffing off the top of my head, and that might be a little easier too. But we're just going to end it there because I'm rambling now and I don't know how to end the video yet. So, if you have any questions about my list or about me or just anything, you can just ask them down there, I think. Or, what's going to be funny is if YouTube changes its layout or whatever and the comments are up above us or over there now. I could see that happening. Something. If you enjoy this, give it a like or don't. You can subscribe or something. I mean, I don't know if this is going to be a regular thing. If you want to hear me playing music, you can just check out my channel. I did a bunch of covers of random songs. It's mostly like Jethro Tull and Pink Floyd and just random stuff. I think we'll just end it on that note. Thank you for listening. If you made it this far, listening to my rambling. And I hope you all have a very good night. Thank you.